Welcome to Sit, Stay, Read, the podcast for every wag, whinny, and whisker. I'm Kathleen Donnelly, award-winning author and retired canine handler. Each week, I chat with novelists about the bond we share with our furry friends and how they inspire stories. Grab a coffee, get cozy with your favorite pet. It's time to sit, stay, read. Well, today I am excited to discuss The Snow Lies Deep by Paula Munier for our second Paw liday special. This is the 7th book in the Mercy Carr series. Mercy's one of my favorites, but of course, Elvis the Malinois. Love Elvis. You have the handsome Troy Warner, Susie Bear. Paula, welcome to the show. I can't wait to talk about your books.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. You have just this amazing canine series, and I want to dig into the characters. But first, let's just go into this latest release, The Snow Lies Deep.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about it. And yeah, you got it too. That's awesome. It's a great
Yeah.
book.
Mine is kind of, I realize now it's kind of modeled because this is one of the ones that the Newfoundland drug out into the snow.
Uh-oh.
He likes to take everything out in the snow. The day I found the Santa hats that we wear,
Yeah.
they were out in the snow. So it's always something. And every spring when the snow melts, we find little surprises all over.
Oh, I love it.
Because she has buried stuff in the snow and it keeps snowing on top. So yeah.
It's like a treasure hunt.
Exactly. Once she took my new phone out and put it in the snow, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I thought, oh my God, she took it outside. And I found it. And now if you look at it, it's got these teeth marks. And so when I went to get a new Mac Air, the lovely guy at the Apple store said, ma'am, I've seen the state of your devices, and maybe you'd like to get the insurance plan. Yeah, maybe I would. Because if she can carry it in her mouth and she's got pretty good strong jaw, and you're not paying attention, out in the snow it goes. So.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh, that's right. Yeah, phones and things like that, they can take a hit around animals. So.
Right, absolutely. You got to be careful.
Yeah. So what lies under the snow lies deep? Maybe that should be our question.
Well, there's always a dead body somewhere, right?
Yes.
But what I loved about writing this one was because it was my first one set in December.
Yeah.
So I got to play with all the holidays, the winter solstice and the Druids and Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year and all that fun Christmas stuff. I'm one of those people who love everything about December, the snow, the winter, all of the holidays. We celebrate them all at our house. So I just love everything about it. So it was kind of fun to do it and to see what I could do that hadn't been done a million times before with all of these tropes, right? The Christmas, Hanukkah, darkness and light tropes. I mean, it's really, in a way, it's really perfect. People say, but Christmas and go together, but they do, because it's all about the longest night of the year, the shortest day of the year, the returning of the light. And that's what crime fiction is all about, the dark and the light, right? So I had a great time writing it.
I had a great time reading it. I learned actually so much stuff about the winter solstice. Although coming into it, I'll be honest, all I knew is like, oh, it's the shortest day of the year. And then, yay, we get longer days and we get lots of shedding and mud coming up. But
exactly.
That was my thought on the winter solstice. But it was really cool to read about the Druids and this whole festival. Do you have festivals in Vermont like this?
We do. I mean, there are Druids everywhere, and Wiccans, of course, and just New Agers, right? And people who celebrate the solstice and celebrate, because almost all of our traditions, Judeo-Christian traditions, are based on pagan rites. The Yule log, the Christmas tree, they're all symbols of, spring returning. Yeah. Right? Evergreen stays evergreen during the winter and is resilient. And so that's why it's a symbol of the winter solstice, right? And spring's promise of the promise of spring's return. Same thing with candles and lights, the light in the darkness, the bonfires, the Yule logs. They all trace back to the pagan rituals, the Druids and the Celts and other pagan rituals. So we're really not that far removed from any of these.
No, and I don't know if I should say I love this. I don't want to get myself in trouble, but I found it really fascinating. Your first murder was Santa, which
Yes.
or the town Santa, I should say, not the
Right,
real
right,
Santa,
right. Yeah, not
with
the
a
real
Yule
stuff.
log. Yeah, the real Santa's still out there, everyone. We're good.
Yeah.
But the town Santa and with a Yule log, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. So when did that come to mind? How did that?
Well, you write a series, so the
Yeah.
longer the series goes, every book you have to come up with a way to kill somebody, right?
Yes,
A new
yes.
interesting way to kill someone, and so every book I'm like, oh, I did poison. Oh, okay, what haven't I done, right? So
Yeah.
there are only so many ways to kill people, and I just try to make it different each time, and so this was perfect because I try to do it by season because the books are set in New
Yeah.
England and the seasons are so distinct
Yes.
and weather issues are so distinct, the challenges are so distinct that it really does help when it comes to plotting. So here I had all the Christmas and Hanukkah and winter solstice tropes to play with, and how can I
Yeah.
weave them into the murder scenes,
Yeah, it was so great. And I don't know if I should say it makes me want to visit Vermont. It does.
Oh, it's beautiful in the
Minus
winter.
the murders, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And the setting in all your books, I've never been to Vermont. The closest I've been is Maryland, and the forests there are so different from here in
Yes.
Colorado. I mean,
Yes.
so, so different.
Yes.
So is the setting, do you consider it a character? Do you?
Absolutely. I mean, I love New
Okay.
England. The forests here are, deciduous and evergreen. So that's why we get the
Okay.
beautiful autumns with all the changing colors, right? Plus we have the evergreens as well. And we don't have grizzlies like you do, but we have black bears and bobcats and moose and, all the usual critters, the deer,
Yeah.
and so it's great fun to write about them too.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, and I love how it comes into it. And let's talk about Mercy and Elvis because I mean, I was like, do we want to talk about Troy and Susie Bear or Mercy and Elvis first? But let's talk about them. They're so fascinating as a retired canine handler. I love how you portray the PTSD because it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. So if anyone out there doesn't know it, military dogs, law enforcement, any of these dogs can get PTSD depending on
Sure.
the
Just like
situation.
we do.
So yeah, exactly. And of course, Mercy deals with it too. So
Yeah.
give us a little background on it. And
Well, Mercy was a former military policewoman. And when we meet her in the first book, she's just come home from Afghanistan, and she's suffering the loss of the life of the military. She's been wounded. She's okay, but she still has PTSD. And in the battle in which she was wounded, her fiance was killed, and he was a dog
wow,
handler with a bomb sniffing dog. And the last thing he says to her is, "Take care of my dog."
yeah.
And he says this because the Army's pretty good about taking care of the dogs, but the defense
Mhm.
contractor dogs often end up in kill shelters. And
Yes.
the way I got the idea for the series to begin with was I did a fundraiser for Mission Canine Rescue, and their whole
Nice.
job that they're completely devoted to finding these military dogs who are been put out of service and are in dangerous situations and bringing them home and find them forever homes. And when I did the fundraiser, I met all these dogs and their handlers, and I'm a dog person anyway, and I just sort of fell in love. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I'm going to write about one of these dogs. And so I gave her the dog. And of course, the dog, Elvis, the Malinois, smart as heck, smartest dogs in the
Yes.
world, right?
Yes,
And
they are.
yes, they really are. We have one now. Oh my God, they really are the smartest dogs in the world.
You are a
And
brave person to have
yeah,
one.
well, they don't come up for rescue very often, so we got one. But boy, yeah, she's a handful. But
Yeah.
she's so smart, and and it's so much fun to have one because I can see, that it was a relief to me because I knew I got it right. Once we got her, I'm like, okay, now is she military trained? No, but she's just as smart and so athletic, right? Just like
Yes.
Elvis is in the books. And Elvis is mourning his mission because he
Yes.
has no more work to do, and he's mourning his man too. He's
Yeah.
lost his handler, and she's lost her fiance, and now they're together, like it or not, and they have to overcome their grief together, and they have to make that transition from the military to the civilian world. And I've never served in the military, but I grew up in a military family, and I have seen a
Oh.
lot of people make that transition, and it can be a very difficult one.
Yeah, yeah, that's fascinating. And we were talking before we started recording how you moved all over the world with the military. So in many ways, I mean that's tough on families. That's
Yes, yeah, it is. I mean, I grew up I was a love, I had lovely parents. I mean, I really had an idyllic childhood, except for all the moving. And,
right.
we always had dogs. I was an only
Yeah.
child. So, and I was always a new kid. So I never had any friends. It took me time to make friends every time, but I had my dog and
Yeah.
my books and the woods. And so you see, my life has not changed. Decades later, it's still the books, the dogs, and the woods, the
To me,
things that
that's perfect.
yeah, exactly. Keep me
That's
grounded.
like,
So,
yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you. I love that. But now you introduced a wonderful man who, I mean, I would love to see this go to the big screen. And I'm like, who would play Troy? Who would play Troy? Who do you see
well,
playing Troy?
it's a good question. Because he's so all-American in some ways,
Yeah,
He's a
he
very
is.
all-American kind of guy. He's the game warden. And in the first book, she meets him when she finds an abandoned baby crying in the woods. Well, Elvis, of course, finds the baby. And Elvis finds it. And they find the dog, and she calls him one. And this game warden, this handsome game warden named Troy, and his search and rescue dog, Susie Bear, who's a Newfoundland, they show up to help. And over the course of the series, they solve crimes together, the four of them. And I
Okay.
wanted to write a his and her mystery series. Those are my favorites, like Julia Spencer Fleming's a
Yeah.
Claire and Russ series, or Ellie Griffith's Ruth Galloway series. Or Deborah Crombie series. I like
Yes.
stories where there's a lot, and I like that relationship, right? And
Yeah.
I wanted them both to be dog people, right? And I wanted him to be, he's basically all the guys I grew up with, these sort of
Okay.
ending, military guys who they went on to serve in the service, a lot of them. I was a
Oh,
little too, was born a little too early. Otherwise, my dad,
yeah.
God knows, would have shipped me off to West Point. But thank God they did not accept women at West Point for a couple more years. So, because I dodged a bullet, and so did the Army, believe me.
I love that.
But I know a lot of these guys, right?
Yeah.
And so he's kind of based on all those guys. And my father is a
Okay.
young man, my husband, my favorite guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, that's probably why he's so likable, lovable, not just likable, lovable.
Yeah.
He's really yin and yang. That's how I see Mercy and Troy and even Elvis and Susie Bear. So
Yes.
Troy has Susie
Yes.
Bear, and now there's a real Susie Bear, isn't there?
Oh,
Is your
yes. We
Newfoundland?
have one. Susie Bear is based on, we have a Newfoundland Retriever mix we
Okay.
rescued named Bear. And he became Susie Bear in the books. And then we now have a full-blooded Newfoundland named Cocoa Puff. And she is
Oh,
something.
okay.
And she's like, she's Susie Bear all over again, as and Bear, because they're both very happy-go-lucky dogs, right? Chill
Yeah.
dogs. Um, Loves the snow. They love to play. They're
Yeah.
everybody's best friend. Very different from the Malinois and
Yes.
from Mercy. I mean, Mercy and Elvis really fit together the way Troy and Susie Bear really fit together. Although Troy is just happiest in the woods. He would just as soon.
Yeah.
And he spends most of his time in the woods as a game warden. So.
Yeah. Although I got the feeling that was changing a little bit for him in this book because, and I'm going to give a spoiler alert. So sorry if someone hasn't read the series, they get together, they get married, and they have
Yeah,
this beautiful baby girl now. And
right.
I got the feeling right from the start when he's out looking for this poacher that maybe he was finally missing being at home, having that So is this,
Yes.
do you
But
see
for
this
the
as a
first time
character
in,
arc?
yes, I think for the first time in his life, he'd like to be home, because he
Yeah.
has a home in a real way. I mean, he grew up in a perfectly nice family, but he's always been more comfortable in the woods, and he would always, given the choice, he'd be in the woods. But now he, between Mercy and Felicity and the dogs and their home that they bought an old Victorian pile they remodeling. So he has a real home now of his own as an adult. And I think sometimes as adults, it takes us a while to find that
Yeah.
place and
Yeah.
those people that we can really feel at home with, you
I
know.
agree. I agree. And you've given Mercy such a beautiful family to surround her and
Yeah,
support her.
yeah.
Was that based off of your family, or I mean, or
Sure.
is
I mean,
that just a fictional part for
no, no,
her?
no. I mean, her mother is very much my mother.
Okay.
Very much my mother, as a younger woman, right? And
Okay.
if she had been a high-powered lawyer, which she certainly could have been if she wanted to, um, but she was very chic, and all those things that Grace is, right? And then the grandmother, Patience, who's one of my favorite characters, is really a composite of my grandmothers. Both
Oh, cool.
hardworking, sensible, loving, strong women,
Nice.
in the good sense of the word. And neither of them was a veterinarian. I just thought, who wouldn't want to be a veterinarian? And it would be good to have one in this,
Exactly.
right? And but they were both really, farm that were, grew up on farms, and they were really sort of salt of the earth, kind of smart, sensible, common sense. Like common sense was an admired trait, and
Yeah.
they baked. Baking is
I love
good.
it. I love it. They really add to the stories. And like you said, I think that's part of the fun of fiction. It's like, oh,
Yes.
I wish I had been fill in the blank veterinarian or whatever. And all of a sudden you can have a character who did it and you didn't have to do 4 years of vet school.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, we all want to be vets as kids, I always wanted to be a vet as a kid, you know. And yes, it does allow you to do all kinds of things that you would never and find out about it. I was started off as a reporter, so for me, that's half the joy of it is the research, just finding out about all these things, right? And weaving them into stories.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so now we have Mercy balancing motherhood, marriage, danger. Do you think being a parent, being a mom, is going to change the way she and Elvis approach danger? There was maybe a little bit of that in this book, but she also is an MP at heart. She's a military police officer.
Right.
So,
I think for all law enforcement, that they have that challenge, right? They have
yeah.
their day world, their work world, which is dangerous, and then they
Yes.
have home world, and they have to shift gears. And soldiers do too. They have to shift gears
Yeah.
when they come home. And there are soldiers who are moms and soldiers who are dads, and same thing with law enforcement. And they
Yeah.
find a way to make that work. And I do think it's not easy. It's never easy for any of us not to bring our work home. But when your
Yeah.
work really explores the darker side of human nature, I think it must be doubly hard. Although it's also a relief to come home to a
Yeah.
world, right? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, what's interesting about it is when you write fiction, every scene, when you have dogs, you're like, oh, what are the dogs doing in the scene? What are the dogs doing? You have to make sure you know what
Exactly.
the dogs are doing, not just what the people are doing. And now it's what are the dogs doing? What's the baby doing? Where's the baby?
Exactly.
So it's another complication in terms of building scenes, but it's fun. I mean, I have 3 kids and 3 grandkids, and I just can't
Wow.
imagine life without the kids. And so I knew that Mercy would be the kind of person who would want a child, and certainly
Yes.
Troy.
Yes, definitely. And they're going to be great parents, or
Yeah,
they already are, I should say.
right.
It's
Yeah.
not going to be. So, yeah, it's fun to see her in that role. And I loved what you said about the dogs in every scene. Do you outline and try to figure out what Elvis and Susie Bear are gonna, what their role is going to be in each scene, or?
Well, they're usually the smartest creatures in the scene. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
never have to worry about, people say, well, how would they find that? And I go, well, I got two really smart dogs. If it's a person or a chemical or whatever, a dead body, they're going to find it. So
Exactly.
it's always, it's an asset, right? Um,
Yes.
it, the challenge is to come up with new things for them to do with every
Yeah.
book, right? How do they do
Yeah.
something? Um, But I know now I have 4 dogs, 4 rescues, 3 home dogs, and I see how smart they are. You
Yeah.
know, they have saved my life more than once. Last year, when the barn burned down, it was the
Oh my
dog
gosh.
who alerted us to the barn burning on fire in the middle of the
Oh
night.
my
'Cause-
gosh.
Yes, I mean, and it was the Malinois and the Newfie. They were the other two was like whatever. But those two would not let me go to sleep. They just were relentless, and they wouldn't settle down. And I kept going outside, and finally I heard something, and I went up and looked up at the pasture, and there was the barn on fire. So they
Oh my
literally
gosh.
saved our lives. So really are smart, and they know when something's wrong. And
They
if you
are.
always trust your dog.
Exactly. Always trust your dog. And
Yeah,
yes, I think I remember now seeing on Facebook or something
yeah,
when your barn burned down. I was so sorry to hear
yeah.
about that. Did
But
you
we were
ever?
lucky.
Yeah, it saved your life and you had no animals in the barn, is that right?
No, no animals in the barn.
Okay.
But the barn was right up to the was built right up to the woods, and the house is built right up to the woods. So
Yeah.
even though there was like an acre of pasture in between, that fire would have gone right down to our
Yes.
house. And our house was built in 1760. It would have gone up like that, and it would have been
Yes.
the night. And so they really did save our lives. And
Yeah.
yeah. So
Wow.
always trust your
Well,
dog.
lots of extra dog treats for sure. Oh
Yeah.
my
Oh my
gosh.
God. Yes. Yes. And my husband's like, I guess we're gonna have these dogs forever. I said, yes, we have these dogs forever. I mean, we did anyway, but that was it.
I was gonna say I have a feeling that wasn't up for discussion before that, but now it really isn't.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Wow, I love it. Well, I have to ask you sort of in a different direction. I'm always amazed by you. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's an agent. You write the books, you write blog posts, you're a teacher, you're an editor. I almost want you to have a Wonder Woman cape on right now.
Ah,
How do you do it all? How do you keep track of everything?
well, I'm not exactly sure I do manage to do it all, but I mean, I've been in publishing a long time. I started off as a
Okay.
reporter, then I became an acquisitions editor for book publishing companies. And I
Okay.
wrote a lot of nonfiction. And I always wanted to write mysteries because,
Oh,
since Sherlock Holmes and Nancy Drew
yeah.
as a kid, but I was always kind of afraid of plotting, of the plot, because mysteries are difficult to plot.
They
Um,
are.
they're, the plotting is the big thing. So then I became an agent. I went to work for my own agent, asked me to join her agency, and
Okay.
and I was writing a book for Writer's Digest Books, and I wrote a book on plot called Plot
Okay.
Perfect, and they asked me to write this book, and then afterwards I thought, you just wrote a book on plot. You cannot plot a mystery. Shame on you, right? So
Yes.
so I did. I started writing a mystery, but I never really got very far. I was like, I'd write half a mystery, and then something would happen, and I get distracted, and I wouldn't finish. And then I wrote this book called Writer's Guide to Beginnings, and I needed a lot. I had a lot of great openings, famous openings from famous books to show readers, look, here's how you open a story. But I needed an opening chapter that I could use as a sample to show editing
Okay.
techniques and all that kind of stuff. And that meant I had to write my own. And I had just done that fundraiser for Mission Canine Rescue. I had those dogs in my
Yeah.
head, and I was dreaming about northern New England. And I thought, I thought, for me, I didn't serve in the military, but I always wondered what it would have been like had I done it, since I grew up in the
Yes.
military. So for me, it was like the road not taken. Well, okay, she could be a detective. She could be an MP, which I always thought, that's
Yeah.
another road not taken, right? The detective. And so I said, okay. And so I just threw everything in this opening chapter. I just made it up as a sample for this writer's guide to beginnings. And my agent read it and said, that's the book you should be writing. And the next thing now I'm writing book 8. So always listen to your agent.
Always listen to the
If
agent.
she's
Yes.
me, especially if she's me. I have my own agent, Gina Panettiere. She's wonderful. But I always tell my
Okay.
clients, I listen to my agent. Now you should listen to yours.
I agree with that. And you answered one of my other questions. I thought, well, Paula is an agent, so does she have an agent? So there
Yeah.
you go. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably need that just to separate the
Oh,
two.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You should never be your own doctor, your own lawyer, or your own agent.
That's awesome. I love it. So anyone out there who has an agent or is querying agents, lesson learned, listen to your agent.
Yes, listen. Listen to your agent. My clients especially. You're listening out there, listen to me.
I love it. So you mentioned book eight. What is up
Yes.
next for everyone? What's up next for
Book
Mercy?
seven, eight. Well, book eight, I'm rewriting it now. It's due the day after Christmas. Ah, but
Oh my gosh.
I know it's coming right up here.
Yeah.
But it's actually a lot of fun because it's set in apple picking season.
Okay.
So, which is, October, September,
Okay.
October, November. It's and there's a lot of apple farms here, a lot of heirloom apples, very big. So I've learned a lot about apples, and there's a lot to learn, believe it or not, about
I
apples.
believe it.
And they have such great storytelling about apples, right? From Adam and
Oh,
Eve and
cool.
on, apples
Yeah.
play all these roles in myth and legends and fairy tales. And so it was a kind of fun to play with the whole apple
Oh, I
thing.
love it. I love it. And are you allowed to say what the murder is going to be? Like we had a Yule log in this one, so
Oh,
what creative murder are we having in the next one?
oh, well, we do have someone die in an unfortunate apple cider vat incident.
Oh, oh, I like that. Okay. All right. I look forward. I don't know what's wrong with me when I'm saying I look forward to that. Okay. What is wrong with
Yeah,
us mystery writers, right?
yes, exactly. This is what we talk about.
It is.
When we get together, we talk shop, we talk about different ways to kill people. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I love it. Well, for anyone out there, I know you have a newsletter because I just signed up for it. Give us the details on social media, website, newsletter, all that
Ah,
good stuff.
okay. Well, paulamunier.com. And you can follow me on Facebook. It's Paula Munier. And I have an author page and I have a regular page. And then on Instagram and Threads and what's the other one? Book Sky. It's Paula S. Munier.
Okay.
Because there's a lovely girl in Brazil named Paula Munier.
Okay.
And there's some other lady in Europe somewhere. But other than that, that's the only three Paula Muniers I know. And one of them beat me to the Instagram handle. So it's Paula S. Munier. So yeah, you can find me. I mean, you can just Google me. I'm also part
Okay.
of careerauthors.com. So it's a lot of free,
That's
fabulous information,
yes.
careerauthors.com. That it's me, it's Hank Philippi Ryan, it's Dane Isaacson, who is Michael Connolly and Nancy Thayer's editor, and now he's on his
Okay.
own really big shot editor. There's Brian Andrews, part of Andrews and Wilson, who do the Tom
Nice.
Clancy books, and they have all these fantastic series in their own right. And Jessica Strasser, who was the publisher of Writer's Digest and now writes thrillers, which are fabulous. So it's a lot of great free advice.
It is. I actually subscribe to that. And if there's anyone out there who's writing, whether you're already published or trying to get published, it's a fantastic newsletter. So thank you all for putting that out. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
sure, sure. Well, the crime writing community is very good about paying it forward.
They are. They are. We have a great community. So
Yes, yes.
it's
Yes, we like
fantastic.
to say that we get our aggressions out on the page so we can be nice to each other.
I love it. Someone asked me once, why are mystery writers so nice? And I hadn't thought about that, but I said, well, we all know how to kill people and
Exactly.
maybe get away with it. I don't know.
Yes, yes.
We can try to plan the perfect murder. I don't know if that ever happens. So
What can't be perfect is that our sleuths couldn't solve it, but we
that's
can
right.
solve it, right? So
That's
what we
right.
do wrong. Yes. And have we ever been tempted? Maybe. Yeah. But the
We'll
good
leave
news is,
that.
yeah, we don't have to kill them. We can just like
Mhm.
Sue Grafton did in her first book, A is for Alibi. She said, she just killed off her ex-husband in the book. It was very satisfying. So we have that option. Other people don't.
We do. We do. It makes it fun. So,
Yeah.
well, one last question for you. This is kind of a random rabbit trail question, but you live in a house that was built in 1760, you said? It's
Yes. Yes.
amazing. So, do you have any ghosts? There's my
You
random
know,
question.
it's interesting, everybody asks us that and we're not sure.
Okay.
And we're not sure if we have ghosts. I thought there was a ghost in the barn. And I know there's a ghost in the woods.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
My husband's like, no, it's not a ghost. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. I think maybe there's a ghost out there. Because there's old cemeteries. You'll just be walking along the woods and you'll come across this random
Wow.
headstone. And yeah, I think they're ghosts. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for answering that. I'm always curious because we don't have houses that old. Well, I shouldn't say that. We have historical places in Colorado that
Right,
are very
right,
old,
sure.
but different from what you have back east. So
Right,
it's pretty
right.
cool.
Well, this is the oldest house I've ever lived in, I have to say. But
Yeah,
I love living in an old house. So.
yeah, it's neat.
They
They
have
have
secrets. Even if they don't have ghosts, they
do.
have secrets.
They
And a lot
do.
here they have, and our I think it was the plumber who came and said, I think there's a hidden room between two
Oh,
walls because a lot of houses up here were part of the Underground Railroad.
okay.
Who would hide runaway slaves so they could get to Canada.
Okay. Oh,
So
very cool.
he
Did you
thinks
find it?
no, we haven't found it yet. You have to sort of tear apart a wall or something. But
Oh, well, that's
he's convinced he's convinced it's behind one of the new fireplaces. So the thing about this house is everybody who ever lived in it decorated a room, remodeled a room in their era. So you can go from the 50s to the 70s and back to the 1800s. There's pieces of everything. And so in this one room where there's a new fireplace, he's convinced that behind the fireplace there's a hidey hole.
Oh, I love it. Well, cool. Well, if you ever
Yeah.
find it, you'll have to let us know. That's
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show. I really appreciate it.
Well, it was delightful. It's always fun to see you.
Well, thank you so much. And everyone, if you want a great holiday read, doesn't have to be Christmas. It can be
No.
winter solstice, it can be New Year's. Make sure you check out The Snow Lies Deep. And until next time, keep your tails wagging and pages turning.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining me today. Sit, Stay, Read is a part of the Authors on the Air Global Network. If you enjoyed today's author interview, be sure to leave a review and share the episode with a fellow animal-loving reader. If you're curious about the world of working dogs and wilderness adventures, please check out my books at KathleenDonnelly.com. Until next time, curl up with your best furry friend and sit, stay, read.